So, good afternoon, everyone. Certainly, I think it's important to recognize not just myself and our council president, council members, John Devlin from the school board, because all of us that are up here have been elected by you. We can get recalled by you, we cannot get re-elected by you, but the point is everyone here locally has been elected by you. I'm going to address some of the statements that the governor made that I thought was either inaccurate or outdated, and then of course afterwards all questions are fine, and you don't have to be a member of the press to ask the question. Everybody's going to be okay. So first of all, I thought it was ironic that after 6 years as being the governor, 6 years of the residents, the faith-based leaders, the business leaders of Atlantic City asking the governor to come down and to do a town hall meeting. Instead, he comes through the alley to the back of the loading dock and goes into the county offices. The insult continues because he has his press conference in the most luxurious office building in Atlantic City, which, by the way, doesn't pay any property tax. And so it just adds to all the other property that the state of New Jersey has bought in Atlantic City and doesn't pay taxes for. That comes to $21 million a year that they don't pay taxes if they sold those properties. And so the governor had said that we had no plan of action of getting rid of city properties. We have just about 90. That's absolutely inaccurate. If you've been to any of the city council meetings, you know that they approved the auction of all the vacant land in Atlantic City. That also includes Beta Field. So now it's time to ask the governor to sell this over 500 pieces of land that the state owns so we can collect property tax on that as well. So let me first of all talk about the lawsuit that the governor brought about, and then after I speak, and the council president, if Mr. Devlin from the school board wants to address it, he can. So the governor made the first incorrect statement, saying that the monitor does not tell us when to make a payment or how much to the school. That's inaccurate, and I'll be happy to provide you with the either written statement or the electronic statement from the monitor that tells us when to make the statements. Now, having said that the governor tells us when to make payments to the school, I have to tell you that it's not unusual for John Devlin or the superintendent or the monitor to call and say, listen, we got a couple extra bills, we need another $1.5 million, and then we do the best as long as we have cash flow to send it to them. School's not closed, school's not going to close. Governor saying that the children are not going to be educated is an untrue statement. We have, because of our financial problems, forced the school to be late on some of their payments. They're not late on salaries, they're not late on pension plans, they're not late on utilities or any other costs that they have. So I think that's pretty important. But I was delighted this morning to read in the press that David Sierra of the Education Law Center, which is again the group that created the whole Abbott districts, made it very clear that the responsibility for public schools 180 days of the year to be open is the responsibility of the state of New Jersey. And so the question now is, why is the state of New Jersey and this governor only funding Atlantic City at 50% of what any other school district that has 7,500 students get? That's the real question. That's about $40 million. That $40 million puts the school system in a pretty good situation and doesn't affect any additional taxes. So, we're in this situation again, not because of mismanagement of the city budget. We're in this problem because we went from over $20 billion to a little over $6 billion of assessed value. We lost 70% of the value. We're getting $150 million less in taxes than we just 6 or 7 years ago. The governor talks about benefits for parks and recreation. And continues to choose to use outdated information. So let's talk about it. The rec department, they have 12 people. They run 2 pools, 4 gyms, 4 community centers. They're part-time, they receive no benefits. The park divisions work during the warmer months when the services are needed. The governor wants the county to take over the cleaning of the boardwalk, save the city money. Well, what I have to tell them is for the past 23 years, the Special Improvement District has been cleaning the budget, and the commercial property owners have been paying for it, not the city. The governor had said that he wants the county to take over the parks in Atlantic City. That's very interesting because the county has a park in Atlantic City, but they subcontract out to the Special Improvement District to maintain it because they do it for less cost. The governor says that he wants the county to mow our sports fields, but our sports fields are synthetic, and if you don't understand that, rubber grass doesn't have to be cut, and it doesn't have to be watered. I guess the governor forgot that he came in and dedicated and cut the ribbon to the synthetic field at Texas Avenue about a year ago. The city maintains also all of the parks in the tourism district, and they've been doing that for 18 years at least. But since he brought up CRDA and the Special Improvement District is part of it, let me tell you, Special Improvement District was run by a board who paid the city assessments. They did it for 18 years and they had a balanced budget. Under the John Hanson plan that the governor was bragging about, the tourism district, Sid became part of CRDA. And in the 4 short years that the state has been running it, the CID now does not have a single member of their board that pays the CID assessment, and they have run a deficit now 2 years in a row of $4 million. So it's the state of New Jersey that is subsidizing the CID that was able to run fine without the state. They have, by the way, 40 fewer employees, still $4 million deficit. So let's hope that the future of a state takeover of the city isn't going to come with the same type of finances that will cost the state of New Jersey tens of millions of dollars. The governor suggests that the county should take over both recycling and sanitation. The county gave the city a proposal of $1,854,000 to take over sanitation and $520,000 to do recycling every other week. The city does both recycling and sanitation every week, and it's $400,000 less than if the county took it over. The governor says that it's our problem that we're paying $1 million for lifeguard pensions. I can tell you that high school, college, and graduate students that are lifeguards do not want to pay into a pension system that they're not going to receive from. And we don't want to pay it either. It is the state of New Jersey that forces the city of Atlantic City to pay lifeguard pensions. And we ask both the Assembly and the Senate to change that rule, to get us out of this program. Granted, maybe the guys that have been in for 15 or 20 years should continue, but you got to end this system here. The point I'm trying to make is we don't get to make that decision. It's the governor. The governor wants to talk about county services. The county wanted us to join the dispatch program. That's when you call into 911, you get services. They were going to charge the city $2.3 million. But the fact is the city does it for $1.8 million. So it would cost us $500,000 more. My point of this is not trying to poo-poo shared services. When they make sense, when we can provide services lower cost, I'm all ears. I want to find out how to do that, but not where it's going to cost us more money. Now, the county has done some things good, and I want to tell you that the county executive is correct. We all met about 6 weeks ago, and the business administrator from the city and the county have been meeting ever since that, talking about things like Meals on Wheels and senior transportation, perhaps some health services, but we haven't seen any proposals on that, but that's a possibility. The governor says we didn't do any subcontracting or finding, that just can't be done. That's just not a true statement. And if you ask the people that aren't working in Atlantic City anymore for the city, they'll tell you that. We no longer handle WIC, we no longer do HIV testing. All of that is being done by someone else to save this city money. Subcontracting just makes a whole lot of sense. Even with our road repairs, Senator Sweeney put us on to a new technology that can fill potholes at the rate of 90 potholes a day. And that's what we did. We hired someone for 3 weeks and they do almost 1,500 potholes for Atlantic City. That makes a lot of sense. He indicated that I somehow lied, so I just need to repeat what had happened. The governor did call me one Friday morning from New Hampshire. Since I have it on cell, it was 9 minutes. And I can tell you about 5 minutes of that call was about the impending storm that was coming, the nor'easter, and what we were doing, and whether or not we had enough resources if the county had too much snow, if we would be able to take in people. Usually we send them off. I talked about vehicles, preparations for police and fire and emergency. That's what most of the conversation. Second part of the conversation is, he said, listen, I understand that you're willing to come back to the table and to try to talk about a plan because you find the takeover plan unacceptable. I said, yes. He goes, well, come into Trenton. We went up to Trenton. We met with representatives of the governor's office and the senator's office. I would say about 3 hours. At the end of that, the senator says, I think we can change this into a compromise. The governor's chief of staff, the governor was not there, it was in New Hampshire, the governor's chief of staff said, I think it's acceptable for the governor too, but I can't speak for him. I will let him know, and if he says yes, that we can do a compromise, a sharing plan, then we'll call you back. Can you come back up on a Monday? And I said, I can, but I got to get back to city council because we're actually talking about bankruptcy and whether or not we're going to pursue that. He goes, please don't do that, come up. I come up, I go back to the governor's office. He was cordial, made jokes about the campaign. Steve Sweeney shook my hand, said, glad we're coming together, glad we're all going to be at the table. I go out now in front of the podium, I stand to one side, and I hear the governor repeat a statement that sounded just like the old plan. I tried to be respectful to him. I went over to Steve Sweeney and asked him what went on. He said, just a misunderstanding, we're going to pull the bill, we're going to stop the hearings, we're going to come and talk. So I said, this is going out live. I've got 9 council members that are planning to vote on bankruptcy today. I need you to come down to Atlantic City. He goes, absolutely, Don. And Steve Sweeney drove down here, met with city council for about 2 hours, and assured us that it was going to be a partnership, that there were going to be benchmarks, that he was going to change, pull the bill. That's what we talked about. There's no lying about it. So the governor either provided misinformation or his chief of staff provided misinformation. But that's the conversation that we had in terms of the takeover bill. I did want to say that the city is concerned about 3 things. He asked, who do we stand with? City council, the mayor. I can tell you who I stand with. I stand with the residents of Atlantic City and their businesses, and I stand for democratic principles that he wants to erode, and I stand for the rights of working men and women to have collective bargaining, and I stand for the people that work in any government agency that need to be protected from politicians. That's why there's a civil service program. These are the 3 items that he wants to take out, and it's just not incorrect. I heard Denny say that he was thrilled because he's going to get $4 million more. I'd be thrilled if I got $4 million more too. But I want to tell you that it's the state of New Jersey who has a formula that determines what a municipality pays to their county. And that is designated by the county tax assessor. And in Atlantic County, for Atlantic City, it is 10.66%. Denny wants to get 13.5%. That's what he got 15 years ago. I get it. Everybody would like it to be 15 years ago, me especially, but it's not. These are the times that we're living in. That $4 million, not from the casinos, that would be going to the county if the governor and the county executive get their way, will not be going to the school board. So just make sure you understand it, as they're thinking everything is fine and dandy for the county taxpayers, including the Atlantic City taxpayers. If you have a pot of money and you're taking 13.5% instead of 10.66%, that $4 million is going to go to the county instead of the schools. The schools can't afford to be running the schools the way they're doing it now. They certainly can't afford the $12 million. I'm going to make one more statement, then turn it over to our council president. And that was just that he keeps on harping about the rich benefits for city employees, for police and fire. Listen, I said this before. I'm not putting any blame on the guy that was before me or 10 people before me as mayors. They made decisions based on the times, based on the amount of monies. But the contracts that they had are what we're paying off now, 20, 25, 30 years. These people came on when Jim Whelan was mayor. I'm not blaming Jim Whelan directly. I'm just saying right now, those benefits don't exist. Police and firemen are coming into the city and they cannot get anything when they retire, no $200,000 payouts, and they have no longevity and they have no education. That's the best I can do. Going against our word for people that have been working here 25 or 30 years is unethical. I just can't be proud of that.
First of all, you heard a lot of rhetoric today over at the county building. As the mayor said, the governor guaranteed Dennis Levinson in the county will get that 13.5%. So you know that the county executive is going to march to the beat of the governor and who else's drum getting that type of money for Atlantic County. So it comes down here again and disrespects the residents of Atlantic City who has been asking time and time again for a town hall meeting. Keep in mind, right across the courtyard, the excuse was he didn't want to meet with liars. But time and time again, we've asked the governor. Remember, it's 5 towns on the Barrier Island. He physically visited 4 of them. What town was left out? I ain't hear y'all. What town was left out? Thank you. President Obama was scheduled to come here, assess the damage, and hold a press conference. What did he do? No disrespect to the Republicans in the room, but he went with his Republican friends to Brigantine to spite our former mayor. He showed time and time and time again that he does not care about the city of Atlantic City. This is a guy who's supposed to be the leader, the chief executive officer for the state of New Jersey, but never takes accountability. It's Steve Fulop's fault. It's Vinnie Prieto's fault. It's Langford's fault. It's Guardian's fault. It's the city council's fault. But you put legislation in here to make change in Atlantic City. And as we look 5 years later, let's talk about numbers. Like I said, this isn't about personality, it's about facts. We want to set policy, he wants to play politics. The money that he promised each and every resident in here to stabilize our taxes, $33.5 million, put it in the budget. I'm the chairman of Revenue and Finance. I had that discussion. Put it in the budget. Well, it's going to pass once the pilot happens. We know the pilot sat on his desk for ages. It collected dust. Then the hypocrisy, he goes back to the legislature and says, I will approve these bills under these conditions. The Assembly and the Senate took their time, did what they were supposed to do, and put it in the legislation. What happened? Now he's saying, well, now I'm not going to sign it without the takeover. And then if I don't get the takeover and the pilot signed, I'm a campaign against North Jersey casinos, which we would love that, but then again, if he campaigned for it, it might pass based on his approval ratings. But understand, it's not like the state of New Jersey has been a model for thorough and efficient government that is conducive to creating our taxpayers to have freedom. Thank you, Ms. Steele. It is not like the state of New Jersey has provided us a model, big brother to look up to, of thorough and efficient government that is conducive for taxpayers' relief. What they've done time and time again, and listen, this isn't the first bite of the apple. This is just what y'all know. Ask Councilman Speedy Marsh, who was acting mayor in 2007 for about 40 days, when then Director Tom Carver from CRETA came upstairs with a document and just said sign. And when he looked at it, it said that the state will control Atlantic City's finances and others. Let's talk about last year. Ask all the city council people last year when before a council meeting we received the facts that we weren't supposed to receive with the word draft on it, that they wanted to take over the city last year. And when we checked them, what they say, oh, that wasn't supposed to get out. You wasn't supposed to see that. We're not thinking about that. But furthermore, he's talking about interjecting the school children of Atlantic City into this political game. What a shame. That's two of our most precious resources, our seniors and our kids. And now he's threatening to take us to court because we did what the state told us to do. We paid the month late. We paid the March payment in April and so forth and so on. They told us to do that. Then when they're called on it, they want to say that we're trying to close schools, we're trying to shut schools down, when the fact is it was his legislation that decimated our school system already. Over 250 people laid off. Supplies are shorted. Classrooms are cramped. Because all they worrying about is the numbers. And let me just tell you this, here's some facts. Ask the state when the last time they paid into the pension fund. Oops. I ain't mean to say that, but I said it. Ask the state about the bankrupt transportation fund. Look at the state of New Jersey where they rank in all major categories in the country. That's why his act wore thin on a national level. You had nothing to run on but sound bites. And the fact of the matter is, he wants to take shots at our police department and our police chief. You guys do a great job. Furthermore, when you want to compare things, the saying is apples to apples or oranges to oranges, however you want to say it. They compare us to New Brunswick and Union. New Brunswick has Rutgers University, say 35,000 students. Well, how many people are we going to have in Atlantic City when we have a beach concert? How many people are we going to have during the summer months and select weeks during the school, during the year? See, you got me thinking about school, I didn't say school. But how many people are we going to have here then? I challenge him, let's check the amount of calls that Union or New Brunswick get that put the burden on our dispatchers. Let's check the number of arrests, and then when you do that, then we can have a conversation. It's cute to talk about salaries, and I get a kick out of this. Listen, he's talking about city council salaries, total of $300,000. City council is the only employees in the city for the last 15 years that haven't gotten a penny. We're not complaining, we're not doing it for the money. We do it because we love our city. And my last point, he wants to talk about, quote, boat checks that our retirees get. We can't help what's on the books. If they got that time, they deserve the time. And he wants to say they're the healthiest people around. Well, like I said, maybe if you lived in the state of New Jersey for more than 100 days, you would understand what's going on instead of living in New Hampshire and Iowa. But let me just say this. See, I'm coming with numbers. He wants to talk about terminal leave payouts. This is an article about the Port Authority, and we are familiar with the Port Authority. One Port Authority cop, I'm not going to say the person's name, pulled down a whopping $348,095 last year. That's right, $348,000, which, by the way, that one cop makes more than the entire city council. So we're going to talk about numbers. Last year, the Port Authority employee got a $100,250 raise. And as an executive, they topped the list at $366,698. But 3 dozen employees took home $250,000 each, including 28 cops. 107 Port Authority policemen made $200 plus a year. These are facts. You want to talk about Atlantic City PD getting boat checks, I would say that's a George Washington Bridge check. Thank you.
John, do you want to just take questions? Do you want to make comments?
Just briefly, I'll be real brief.
John Devlin, President of Atlantic City School Board.
I think there was some speculation regarding payments to school district. That's incorrect. The bill's been paid. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, City Council. listened to the governor's speech regarding litigation. We were first approached about litigation towards the city, I want to say roughly a month ago, and unanimously decided not to go in that direction. I got a phone call last week from the governor's office wanting me to endorse their litigation. Since we unanimously voted against it, they wanted us to endorse the Attorney General coming in and suing the city. I'm against it. I brought some board members with me. We were unanimously against it, and I'll end on that note. Thank you very much.
And just one more fact, when I left the county building, I walked in with some of the employees, and understand this is an emotional time. But as I stated, we in this together. When you get paid, we get paid. There's no secret account that's going to pay the council when everybody else is not getting paid. And we will tonight vote on that to make sure that you continue to get paid regardless of what he says. You got to understand, those are his words. His credibility is shot. You see it in the approval rating. So let's not let him come down here and use the divide and conquer method. We've been together. We're going to continue to be together. And let's stand strong. And we'll open it up to questions.
I have a question. I know this is Christie Day, but we also have a state senator that represents us. We also have a state assemblyman that represents us. And I have never, and I've been in a few press conferences, I've been in Trenton, I have never seen neither one. And if you don't know who they are, I'm talking about Jim Whalen and Mazzio. I have yet to see them in anything here in this city.
You're right.
Now, answer.
Well, I can.
I was asking if the mayor, if he reached out and all, because we have reached out and they haven't come in and said anything.
Well, I made a comment yesterday. I made a comment yesterday in regards of our Atlantic County delegation, which have let us down, for the exception of Chris Brown.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's unfortunate. I was there on MLK Day at St. James Church, and we were in the pulpit. And the most offensive, I mean, lying is one thing, but when you lie in the pulpit and use terms over my dead body, and then now you get your marching orders, and now you for the takeover, and you was against the takeover, that's very troubling. That's why yesterday we started dialogue with our federal delegation. I reached out to the president, Senator Cory Booker, Senator Menendez, and Congressman Lobiando, just to see if we qualify for some emergent funds. This is an emergent situation. This is a catastrophe waiting to happen. And everyone in Washington know how irresponsible Governor Christie has been, and we just called on them for help. We don't know what they can do, but they're researching different opportunities to help the city of Atlantic City at this difficult time.
Mayor Gardy, specifically, the governor said that there's no point in meeting with you, quote, because there's no purpose dealing with a liar. Your response?
I'm sorry that he has to use name calling. He should use facts and information. He should be trying to move the city forward. He should be a diplomat like we're trying to be diplomat. The solutions are in front of us. Reduce the cost of city government continually. Get the casinos to be allowed to redirect the funds to the city and provide some of the state aid that you provide to every other state.
To follow up, he also questioned your ability to do math, saying when asked about state aid.
Sure. So what happened is Chris Folicello, at my chief of staff, at the end of this meeting, for anyone who's interested, there's a 22-page memo of understanding that I and all the city council members signed that give the governor unbelievable power right now to do anything he wants in terms of financing that he denied. Number two, Chris is going to give you the COMTRA, the amount of state aid given to every other city, and a chart showing you where Atlantic City is and where everyone else is. And just roughly, Camden comes in at $6,000 per resident. Most of the other cities come in between $4,000 to $5,000 per resident. We come in at $1,500. So we're in this shape because we've not been getting state aid and the school hasn't been given state aid. And I'll be happy to provide that chart. That comes from Trenton, comes from the state house. I'm sorry, yeah, go ahead.
He's not moving on this. Speaker Prieto says that he's going to try to introduce perhaps another bill, but if it's got, not gonna go anywhere. Where do you see this going? Are you going bankrupt? What's gonna happen?
Sure. So, you know, I'm doing this sometime because of the 9 unions that represent Atlantic City workers each agreed to get a check once a month instead of every 2 weeks. That's the pain they're gonna suffer, but by doing that, we stay open in April and May, and we don't have some problems until June. But it's just buying us time to have level-headed people come to the table. I appreciate that the speaker, Vince Prieto, is being mature, trying to find solutions, offer benchmarks, and that so far, if I'm reading Politico correctly, I think we're up to about 21 Democratic senators that have all come on board supporting the city against the governor, and yes, the 12 Democrats from South Jersey have all voted for the takeover. So the speaker, I believe tomorrow, is going to be presenting the pilot bill, the redirection of funds from the casinos to Atlantic City, but I believe he's going to have an alternate plan. That alternate plan is the one that the city, representatives of the governor's office, the senator's office, and the speaker's office decided upon when we were having all of those meetings, the ones that we're sticking with that the governor turned his back to. So they accepted the city plan, and 4 days later, they didn't tell us that they had this takeover bill. They just released it to the press, and we had to find out when we got it online.
Mayor.
Chris?
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's Geppetto? Who's
That-
all the strings? Who's
That
the
is for you to decide, and maybe more than one Geppetto. And you gotta be thinking about this, so who's control? You know, it's gonna be when we talk about the water company. Water company is an authority right now. So it means the water authority minutes go directly to the governor's authority unit in his office. They approve it, they approve the budget. If the water company themselves are now trying to sell themselves, we can't stop them. They're a separate authority. They report to the state. If the governor wants it sold, it's gonna be sold. So why don't we check the names of the board members of the water company that is going to try to buy our MUA? And then let's check it a year and 2 years ago, because I don't believe this just happened today. So let's see who the board members were that took their names off of being a board members 2 years ago, and then see if there's any connection with financial contributions made to assemblymen, senators, and gubernatorial candidates. That's Williams.
And so peace be with you. And so you talk about reading the political and understanding what the Assemblyman Prieto is doing and trying to have that compromise. And one of the things that we hear is he was standing up for collective bargaining, wanting to stand up for the local sovereignty. But one of the things that we don't hear is standing up for the standing up for us keeping our own water. Now, is that something that we can, or what can you call us to do? What can we do so that those 3 things, the collective bargaining, this maintaining local authority, and keeping our water, are the 3 things that are in this compromise bill that they're currently discussing?
Well, I mean, I can answer that. We're totally against the takeover, period, because it's wrong all around the board. And as I stated, normally when draconian measures like this, it involves severe corruption, severe mismanagement. Everyone know the numbers. It's a direct reflection of our rateable base, which the 4 casinos that closed in the tourism district and Revel under the governor's watch has contributed to that. It made everyone in this room taxes go up 53% over 2 years. Y'all remember that? But to answer your question, in regards to the MUA, the governor says that council put it on its agenda 3 times in the last year, and we failed to act on it. And he's right about that. But we will act soon. We're just waiting for some of our members to get the necessary information that they need, and I'm prepared at the next council meeting, not tonight, to reintroduce that measure because it's very important. And we want to bring it under the city to keep it in public hands. What they're trying to do is privatize it. So you have to understand, that's why it's important that it comes under the city so we can keep it out of private hands. So.
I got a question for both of you. I'd like it if you would answer. If the standoff doesn't end between Governor Christie and Speaker Prieto, and the money runs out here, will you file for bankruptcy?
So first of all, uncharted waters, never happened before. We are on the side of the legal opinion, people that have opined that it is the state of New Jersey that has the ultimate responsibility to provide free public schools, that are equal among all residents of the state of New Jersey. So if something happens to the city, it's going to be the state that's left picking up the tab. Now we talk about the city. The state constitution says the state is responsible for the health and welfare and public safety of all its residents. So we're in uncharted waters now. If we can't do it, we're not giving them the right for a takeover, but they will have to come in and pay the bill. Now, they may choose who's gonna pick up trash and who's gonna be the police officers and firefighters. If they try to replace our police and firefighters, it's gonna be pretty foolish to do, but you know, that's why I said right now. I know, I can't say that bankruptcy is absolutely off the table, but I've said it before, it's the last resort. It's not a good idea. It's gonna hurt local businesses. It's gonna put people fearful to come to Atlantic City, and it will hurt every other municipality in bonding. But I can't say that we're not going to do it. But if we do a bankruptcy, it's not an Atlantic City bankruptcy, it's a Christie bankruptcy. He's forcing us into, he's starving us into bankruptcy.
And to answer your question, bankruptcy is on the table because bankruptcy has to be on the table. And we have the votes on city council right now to declare, but as you know, we have to get permission from the governor, which he says he's not. Under that situation, we run out of money, and he says that he won't let us declare bankruptcy. Our hands are forced. I mean, then we could talk about legal issues such as possible federal lawsuits and other mechanisms to, you know, get the city back to ridership. So it can't be off the table at this point because we're not dealing with someone that's playing fair.
Can we get the school district president for just a second? I want to get something made clear. Are you saying that you have gotten your April payment now? Is that in hand or not?
The April payment's not in hand. I believe the payment was due on the 15th.
Yeah, a month to one,
Get you behind. Go on.
so I'm sorry.
Yeah, make it
We're a
clear.
month behind, so when I
Right.
said April, that's, the April payment wasn't made.
Right.
We made sure that if we were going to close the city Friday, which we're not, if we did, we wanted to make sure the school was able to get through the month of April until the May payment. But that payment for April was really the March
And
payment.
Mayor, let me just reiterate
Yeah,
also,
please.
both the city monitor and the school board monitor both agreed to late payments.
Okay.
And I've been on the school board for 12 years now, last 2 years as president. The last 5 mayors, because we had a lot of mayors in 12 years, they're all late. Now I'm a bit confused. Everybody in Trenton's up in arms because this administration was late. We have a long history of late payments, but guess what? They've been paid. Thank you.
Amy, yes.
Are you at all open to the county taking over the water department? And also, I have another question too.
So the first one is, am I open to the county taking over? I don't understand how the benefit would be. I'm not for selling this water company. Some people are, getting the $100 million up front. I'm not for that. So selling it to the county or selling it to a water company, I see that as the same thing. I have a townhouse here that I own for the last 20-something years, 22 years. I pay $180 for my water bill because it's public. I pay $850 for my sewer bill because it's private. There's no doubt in my mind that my water bill is going to be $850. I get it. And that's why we shouldn't do it. It makes no sense if you're a resident in this city. And by the way, the one thing with that, it doesn't matter whether you're rich or poor, we all pay the same water bill. So quadrupling that will hurt senior citizens, people on fixed incomes, low income, families. That's the worst thing you can do to poor people.
And also,
Yes,
did
ma'am.
you reach out to the governor at all today to try to meet with him? And he also mentioned that he flew into Atlantic City. Do you know, did he fly the helicopter, where did he land?
I think fluent must be when he exceeded the speed limit. I don't want to speak for him, because he did arrive in Suburban. So I didn't know that he flew in, unless he flew into the airport, and it doesn't make sense. He would have choppered right into the hospital, I think, or to Taj if he was coming in by helicopter.
And did you reach out to his office to meet with him?
I did not. I did not. And unfortunately, with the statements that the governor has made, there seems to be no avenue of compromise. If he said, can you come and sit down at the table, the answer is yes. He wants me to meet with other people, the answer is yes. We've got to be reasonable, not unreasonable. And despite the 52 names that he called me, I'm still respecting his position as governor of the state of New Jersey.
He was asking you in unusually personal terms today. How do you not take that personally?
Because I want to be a politician, and I realize that that's how politicians talk. I'm disappointed in an individual that should be more diplomatic than politician running the state of New Jersey. So I'm disappointed, and like I can say about every urban mayor in this state, we can't wait for January, I guess it's 14th, 2018, when we have a new governor.
I had one question, but now I have two. The water department, would there be consideration in leasing to the county, since they do have a decent bond rating and might be able to get us some of the funds that we need? That's one question. And the other question is, subject to what is happening in the assembly and the bill, you feel confident that the bill that Prieto is going to address or introduce is one that you would agree with? Because I'm curious to know, is there anything on the table for an injunction?
Your question about leasing, possibility of leasing to the county or, you know, any other entity that will keep it in public hands. I think it's in our best interest, if it's brought under the city, to possibly investigate something like that. If a deal was made and parameters were put in that it would always remain in public hands, and or some type of reverter clause back to the city once we get on solid fiscal ground. That's something that we can investigate, but, you know, by no means can we commit to that. As far as the bill, we live this bill. Senator Prieto was going to present a bill similar that we gave to the state, which was literally thrown in the trash after 3 negotiating sessions. So we're very familiar with the bill. The bill gives us benchmarks, and it takes the draconian takeover measure away. And look, if we were to do something that's not fiscally prudent, that's when the takeover could happen. That's a benchmark, and that's more like a partnership than anything else.
Mr. Small, you had said before that things got really heated before, and you know, there's been a lot of name calling. You were pretty harsh on the governor here, but when you stepped into the elevator before, you said he's an ignorant piece of shit. You're talking about the governor, and could you expound on that?
No, well, in the elevator, a comment that you heard me say, I said that he was an ignorant
piece of shit.
Yes, but that was a private conversation in the elevator.
In an elevator full of reporters.
No, but like I said, I gotta, you know, call it like balls and strikes. I mean, listen, all I'm saying is this: we're trying to be diplomat. It's my right to have any kind of comment that I want, just like he has any kind of comment that he wants. He spares no one. So I'm having a conversation with a friend, and you just happen to be in the elevator, and I'm not going to apologize for it. I mean, it would have been better if you would have pulled me to the side, because I would have told you the same thing. See, one thing about me, you're never going to get a gotcha moment with me. I say what I mean, and I mean what I say. So, come on, man. You got to do better than that.
Do you have any better question to ask?
Just very simply, are public employees or city employees getting paid Friday?
Yes. We're voting on it tonight, by the way.
So you don't know until tonight for sure?
We're voting on it tonight. Feel free to stay.
I'm saying yes. I'll buy you a beer.
City Hall open on Monday.
I'm sorry?
Is City Hall open on Monday?
Absolutely.
Mayor,
Hey guys, we have time for 2 more questions. Michael?
Are you certain that the assembly is going to vote on the pilot bill tomorrow?
I am not, Mike. I'm not certain on anything any other elected official does unless they ask me to speak for them. And certainly the speaker hasn't done that. I've spoken to the speaker several times this week, and he was looking to try to move the pilot bill. I don't know if it's the original pilot bill or it's this new pilot bill, which unfortunately Senator Whalen has given casinos the opportunity to opt out of anytime they want and pay regular taxes. So it's certainly not as good as the first pilot bill, and we have not yet seen the alternate bill if the Speaker is posting it, but he said he would send us a draft as soon as he had it.
One more question.
The change in the Whalen bill, is that the governor said he wouldn't sign this
He
package.
changed it
One
already.
word was
He
changed.
snuck it in. Most of the senators didn't know it was even in. It's really sad.
Mayor, one more here.
Mayor, Atlantic City Casinos make $190 million February this year. Make more money than 2015.
Yes.
Who get the $13.3 million? The state or the city?
13.5%. The percentage.
The percentage.
Oh, right now?
Yes.
Right now, 10.66 goes to the county. About 37% goes to the school, 1.5% goes to the library, the rest comes to the city, about 51%. I may be off a percent or so on that.
We got
So,
money?
we have some.
All right, one more.
Yeah, right up there.
Mayor, is there a fear that, say the takeover bill does pass by some nature, that this will be held up in litigation for like the next 3 months or so on?
Well, there's no doubt in my mind that this is unconstitutional. But, you know, it's no good winning this 2 and 3 years down the road after the state decimates the city with their takeover. So,
Will there be an injunction?
I don't know that answer.
Okay, thank you guys.
Wow. That was crazy. I'm glad you guys tuned in. Thank you for following GoToWhitney. I'm going to try to post the video of, well, actually you can watch it back on Facebook, but I'm going to try to post the videos. And I guess we'll see what happens. Thanks for watching, guys. Yeah.